great to be with you again to pursue our study of the letter to the Philippians. In the previous programs, we have been studying the introduction of Paul to his readers, and we saw how profound that introduction was and how laden with all kinds of very powerful, meaningful terms, such as the expression of Paul as a servant of Jesus Christ, and the reference to the believers in Philippi as saints, and also that beautiful blessing that Paul gives to his readers as desiring upon them the grace and the peace of Jesus Christ. So we saw some very beautiful and profound things, including, at the end of that introduction in verse 2, this connection of the Father and of the Son, of Jesus and the Father as really being of the same essence and of the same level of authority in a way, as he declares upon the Philippians that grace that is coming both from the Father and from the Son, which is a subtle allusion to the divinity of Jesus Christ. So as you can see, this introduction is not something to just kind of gloss quickly and pass by, but really has all kinds of profound things, as does the entire letter. But now we enter into a reading of the following verses, which is really now the kind of the getting into the body, into the text itself. And so Paul begins by saying, I thank my God every time I remember you. And, that's a beautiful summary of really of the entire letter and its main spirit, which is one spirit, a spirit of affection for the Philippians. This is a pastor writing to beloved parishioners who he hasn't seen in a long time and with whom he has a lot of history. So this letter is distinctive because of that, because it expresses a lot of affection on the part of Paul, and Paul just kind of relishes the love that the Philippians expressed toward him, including that beautiful, very useful financial gift that they sent to him while he's in jail through Epaphroditus, whom he also makes reference to later on in the letter. So it's a very personal, poignant, loving, affectionate letter. So he begins by saying, I thank God, and not just God, but my God. I mean, he's just full of affection at that moment and sentiment. So he's expressing his own intimacy with this God who provides for him continually, including good friends, including generosity of these friends. So he says, I thank my God every time I remember you. There's a kind of a reference there to Paul's prayer life and the fact that he's always praying for all kinds of things that refer to his ministry and to the gospel. He says that every time he prays, he remembers them, but not just remembering them, but thanking God for the support, for the love, the encouragement, the companionship that he receives from them. Reading these expressions of affection on the part of Paul, I was reminded of how important it is that we express love to the people around us. Love to our friends, to our husband or wife, to our children, to people who really contribute to the quality of our life. Sometimes we take these things for granted and we assume that people know that we love them and that we're grateful. But, this expressiveness that I see here from the Apostle Paul reminds me how important it is for us to also express encouragement and gratitude to those that have contributed to the quality of our lives. So I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with you because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. Again, there's a reference here to Paul's rich prayer life, but I think there's also an invitation for us to pursue that same kind of prayerful life. Paul was a man of prayer, and Paul was also a man of intercession. He interceded on behalf of his parishioners, his companions in the gospel. He interceded for those believers that were to follow throughout all the generations. He was a man of intercession. So should we also be people that intercede for our loved ones, for our fellow believers. The Bible calls us to pray for one another and to support each other, because the prayer of believers are very powerful. The Apostle James says that the prayers of a righteous man or woman avail much. In other words, they have a lot of usefulness. And so I believe that we should be praying always and interceding always for all kinds of things. I think pastors should intercede generously for their parishioners. Husbands should intercede for their wives and vice versa. Parents should intercede on behalf of their children. Parishioners and believers should intercede one for another. Evangelists should intercede that the gospel might just go forth and that God might prepare the hearts of those people that will be receiving the word of salvation. And I believe that everything goes better with prayer. And if we enrich our efforts with continual prayer and intercession, we will see great results. I think the foundation of the Christian life, the platform upon which we undertake everything, should be prayer. I think if we prayed more and hustled and kind of, just were anxious less for the things that we need to do in life, we would see much greater results. Later on in chapter 4, we will see that very well-known call to exchanging anxiety for prayer. It says, don't be anxious about anything, but instead, bring your prayers before the Lord with all kinds of prayers, supplication, and thankfulness. This is what we see here with this mixture of thankfulness, gratitude, and prayer and intercession on behalf of his his partners in the gospel. So I'm going to leave it here with that affirmation of the value and use of prayer, and this encouragement for you and for me to engage in generous prayer and intercession. And I hope that that will make kind of a distinctive feature of our lives and ministries. God bless you, and I will be back with the next meditation.